Today's video, this is Traveling Brandon. Today's video begins in Greenwood, and we are going on a trip to Greenville. I know it's been a while since we had a video, so I thought it was overdue and time to do another one. I have a lot of plans. I want to do some vlogs around Halloween and some cool stuff happening in Florida. So hopefully we'll be able to get down there on fall break and see some cool things. Let's go get a coffee. Okay, so I just got a sugar-free vanilla latte, and it was the protein option. Before, I just got it without the protein, and the app only had that as an option, so I don't know. But I'm gonna try it, and we'll see how it goes. It tasted okay, but it was real chalky on top. But this is the second Starbucks location that Greenwood's got. It was put on the south side of town, so hopefully to service the hospital and some of the new businesses popping up around this area. It's nice. It's brand new. Been here probably a year and a half, 2 years, I think. But it's pretty good. But now we're gonna go to Greenville. It's about an hour drive away, and I got some stuff I wanted to see. And please come with me, and let's have a good day. Thanks for watching. Build it, and they will come. Cornfields outside of where Shoals. If you've seen Field of Dreams, you get the reference. They're growing it out here off Highway 25. Pretty cool. We are here outside of Greenville at the Shoeless Joe Jackson Memorial Park. So he used to play here as a kid when he also worked, ironically enough, at the Brandon Mill, which is just next door. And they actually still have the smokestack still, intact. See if we can get a shot of that. That's cool. So yeah, he played here as a kid, and he had to work at a very early age, so he wasn't all that literate, having to work 12 hours a day in the mill. And also this piping hot caffeinated beverage, it's given vibes from the Santa Claus when Tim Allen as Scott Calvin tells the little girl when he first sees her he's lactose intolerant, and the next year whenever he is in his full Santa Claus regalia, beard and all, she gives him milk and cookies, and the milk is soy milk. It's giving that taste. But yeah, that's a protein latte for you. But yeah, we're gonna go hit up some spots around Greenville from Shoeless Joe Jackson's time in the area. He's from here. This park is locked up, but it is very nice field. Grass is really green. Very nice field. I'm not sure when they utilize this, but it would be cool to come out here for a game, just if it's minor league or something like that. It's soy milk. Ugh. Probably won't be getting this one again. But yeah, this one is right next to the Brandon Mill, like I said, where he used to work. And yeah, we're just gonna hit a few spots, and please come along the journey with us as we go around Greenville. We're here at Floor Field out in Greenville, and this is the Shoeless Joe Jackson bronze statue. The bronze statue of Shoeless Joe was created by artist Doug Young, and it was unveiled in 2002 at a different location down the street, and then later on it was brought here outside the field, which I think is a proper place because, you know, you're at the baseball field, you want something iconic to bring you in the park, and this is one of those iconic statues that, you know, they just don't make no more. The glasses had to come on because the sun is out and it is bright. So the Greenville Drive minor league team is an affiliate of the Boston Red Sox, so there's a lot of Red Sox memorabilia and art around here. They actually have a small version of the Green Monster that is just over the fence here that goes along the field. So hopefully next time there's a game, I can snag a ticket for that particular seating, because it'd be cool to sit up there instead of the normal grandstands. So now we're going to walk down here and we're going to see the house that Shoeless Joe Jackson used to live in, and it of course was moved as well to its location down here beside the field, and it was turned into a museum with different artifacts from his life and from his career. So let's go check it out. And there's actually a game today in Spartanburg, so the park is quiet and it's locked up, so it's nice to be down here with no crowd and able just to kind of walk around the perimeter of the baseball park, but not a lot of people. It's quiet. It's also 9:30 in the morning, so everybody's either asleep or they are still in bed. I work third shift, so I'm up early. We are outside the museum and baseball library of Shoeless Joe. It was built in 1940, and like I said, it was originally at the corner of East Wilburn Avenue, and they moved it here later on. I think it's fitting that he's, you know, having the house right beside the baseball park, which is just over there. This is nice. They open in about 30 minutes, so hopefully we'll be able to get in and then we can look around, see some of his artifacts from his career. So he played for the Philadelphia Athletics from 1908 to 09, and then was with the Cleveland Naps from 1910 to 1915 before he went on to play with the White Sox. And if you know the 8-man out situation from the World Series, it's been portrayed in a few movies, 8-Man Out and also Field of Dreams, where he was banned along with 7 others for attempting to fix the World Series. He was later found, you know, not guilty of that and taken off the ban list, so hopefully one day they can put him in the Hall of Fame. It's just going around the outside of the house / museum. It is an old mill house. It's a really cool picture of Shoeless Joe up on the wall from way back in the day. Yeah, they open at 10 o'clock and they're only open until 2, so, and Saturdays. So if you come down here on game day, get here early enough so you can get in here to see it before the game starts. I've been wanting to make a video about Shoeless Joe for a while, and the museum being open only on Saturdays has been kicking my butt. So I'm glad I'm finally able to come down here and see this, and hopefully y'all can too. Just walking the outside of the baseball field. Like I said, there's not a game here today. They're actually up the road at Spartanburg playing at the new stadium, so it's quiet, everything's locked up, but it is nice to see all the different stuff around the outside of the, you know, actual field. Different stuff notating key players to the team and the history of everything. It is quite hot today. It is quite hot. The sun's out in full force. So yeah, gonna need to get a bottle of water after all this walking. So I'm back down here at the statue before the museum opens up. It was actually moved here in 2018 from its original location. And I think this is the perfect spot for it. Right in front of the baseball field for everybody to enjoy. Shoeless Joe. Alright. Well, let's go ahead down to the museum. It'll be open by the time I drive over there and get out of this hot sun. Greenville.
So you've heard the Ty story where he was. I'm not going to tell you.
With the family now or later. This is a great photo. And around this general area, 40-50 square miles, there were all these mill towns. And the mill towns had communal living, they had stores and shops, they had churches, they had the factory, and then they had baseball fields, baseball churches, and the communities where they lived. And up here is the one where Joe Jackson landed, and it is the Brandon Community Mill. It was popular. It was incredible at the turn of the century. This is a pretty good illustration, and there's a better picture over there where you'd go from the factory back to your communal housing and then down to the ball field. But Joe Jackson started working in the mill at 6 years old, and he was just a natural baseball player. And he went to play for the team at 13 years old, the youngest player ever to play in the Mill Community Baseball Village. Just before we go into the history of Joe Jackson, there's some cool artifacts over there. The one on the wall just shows how the house was moved from about 3 miles over here next to the Drive Stadium. His house he actually was in. This was the house that he passed away. Living community was all here, right? You go to the factories to do your job, and then right across the street was the ball field. So that is a good aerial illustration of the Brandon Mills.
Are any of these buildings still there?
Yes, they are. Yes, now
Most of them are apartments now.
Yeah, a lot of them are repurposed. A lot of them are
Pretty much
repurposed.
everyone on that
Room is kind of where we're going to migrate to every now and then, and I really encourage you to look around. But this is what I wanted to focus on, and we'll come back and refer to this. So we've taken you through 1901 to 1908 when he's in the mill factory. Now, just before we go, he was 6'1", 200. In the day, that was pretty big. I mean, that was a pretty good frame. But you can see we talked about in 1901 at 13 years old. He was the youngest one to play on the Brandon Mill baseball team. And 1908 was a really big year for Joe Jackson. He signed his first pro contract with the Greenville Spinners, like we talked about. He earned his nickname Shoeless. We'll talk about that in a second. And because he not only starred for the Victor Mill team, about Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson, although illiterate, he was very shrewd. Many times he used his illiteracy to his advantage where people thought they could take advantage of him. But he was shrewd. In his days after baseball, he owned a liquor store that you saw downstairs. He owned a billiard parlor. He owned a chain of dry cleaners. He played a lot of baseball. He made money. And when he made money, he saved money. He was very shrewd. Even though he was uneducated, he was pretty educated in the ways of life, and looked after himself, looked out for himself. Found him and said, I need that guy. Connie Mack, according to Joe Jackson, was the best man he'd ever met and the best baseball man he ever met. Connie Mack was a fine gentleman, Hall of Famer, saw the talent in Joe Jackson, embraced Joe Jackson, and brought him on to the Philadelphia A's pro team. The problem with that is, at the time, Philadelphia was trying to be the New York City. They were getting educated ball players. They were getting players from the Ivy Leagues and trying to establish themselves as a very aspirational higher end baseball team. And this whatever you want to call him from the South. But it was Brother Joe, Brother Ty. That relationship was firmed in his days in Cleveland and lasted all through each of their lives. Some really cool pictures. What I wanted to point out here, a couple things to talk about, and then I'm going to let you guys cruise around. No. If you take a look here at Joe Jackson's Major League statistics, the years go down to the left and all the stats go to the right. Now, you'll notice at the very bottom in 1920, Joe Jackson, for the first time, had double-digit home runs and triple-digit RBIs. Okay? Why do you think all of a sudden the offensive numbers started jumping in the 20s? Was not only the roaring 20s for entertainment, the 20s were the roaring 20s for power hitters.
That were him. That's for sale.
Oh, yeah.
All the silver stars and scoreline, champion of the league and club owner.
Left out or
Amen.
or something. Yeah, something like that.
Baseball left on Joe's grave.
Old school kitchen.
Mr. Jackson, please watch over me.
What's in the icebox?
Greenville used to have a team called the Spinners, the Greenville Spinners. He played for them.
What was that?
A replica of the 1919 jersey, and I have a question. You don't answer. You've gotten all the answers so far. You be quiet. Why does everybody think that in 1990 was the traditional pinstripes, but in 1917 it was all red, white, and blue and that stuff?
You can let him answer.
All right,
The only thing I can think of is that the Yankees were always pinstripes, and somebody thought they were copying the Yankees.
World War I was 1918, and the red, white, and blue was to promote World War I. In fact, a lot of the players in 1918 that were drafted either had to go or work at a facility that supported the war. Joe Jackson was drafted, didn't go to the war, but he worked at a shipbuilding factory that supported the war. So that was it. But yes, 1918 was World War I, and 1917 jersey was to promote patriotism. But in 1919, here is the truth about what happened. And if nobody knows what happened, I will tell you. There was a World Series in 1919, and at the time, gambling was really prevalent. Boxing had all the gamblers, horse racing, sports. Gambling was prevalent. And baseball was known to have some players who told gamblers, if you need a strikeout or you need me to drop a pop-up, just let me know, it'll cost you $25. And they would work with the gamblers, but it was never done in a big game. It was always done in games that were meaningless in the standings toward the end of the year, and nobody would really even know or care. But in 1919, the players, 6 of them, thought that they could go to the gamblers and say, hey, if we throw the World Series, what will you do? And the gambler says, well, we'll give you $100,000 to split between whoever is conspiring. And they all agreed. The players went to the gamblers. Well, the gamblers said, we'll know the fix is on if the first pitch by the pitcher hits the first Cincinnati Reds batter. We'll know the fix is on. And Eddie Cicotti, who was the pitcher, and he could be a Hall of Famer. He was banned for life. He's the only one other than Joe Jackson who might have the stats to become a Hall of Famer now that the lifetime ban is over when you die. Anyway, Eddie Cicotti, first pitch, hits the first batter, and the Gamblers knew the fix was on, and then they stiffed the players. They said, nah, let's not pay them. Let's use all the money that we have allocated to pay them and just put it on the game, and we'll make more money. And they stiffed the players. Anyway, this natural hitter ever, and I think there's a quote over here. Yeah. He was the greatest hitter I'd ever seen, the greatest natural hitter I ever saw. He went to Joe Jackson for tips, and obviously you know what happened. I'll give you another quick thing on Babe Ruth that I just learned. Back in the day, during the dead ball era, it was very discouraged to get up there and try to hit home runs because you'd strike out more than you'd get on base. And back in the day, it was all about getting on base and creating runs and having pitchers dominate games. Any batter that came up there and tried to hit, they were quickly demoted because you had to have a high average. Well, Babe Ruth was a pitcher. He was in the lineup. He was a good pitcher. So he went into those games with the big swings, and the managers are like, just let him, he's pitching. I don't care if he hits, I don't care. Well, he started to be able to, and then the live ball era came, and then that swing really worked. There was a lot of people. The owner was a Scrooge in that he reneged on some bonuses, and that's why the players went to the Gamblers and initiated the fix. Well, it is a myth because the White Sox had the highest payroll in baseball at the time. Now, could they have been making more than $6,000 a year? Did they deserve $10,000? Maybe. But he was a miser. But the players did not go to the Gamblers because their owners were cheap.
This is the room that's showcasing his time in Cleveland. There's a lot of cool artifacts on the wall and in the cases. Old newspaper clippings and different, maps of the area. And over here is a benefit game they played in 1911. All different all-stars on the roster. And then Joe Jackson is right there. Old pitcher. Really cool museum, really great tour. Highly recommend it. Closet library. Read a book. Different artifacts and different paintings and art. It's great. It's Jackie.
Last guy in the bathroom.
Yes, it was. When would this have been written?
That's interesting.
1999. So Ted Williams
Ray
died,
Liotta,
I think the
Field of Dreams.
2000.
And then D.B. Sweeney played him in 8 Men Out.
Ted Williams, yeah.
Nice.
That's in the museum. Yeah.
To touch a movie prop.
She walked around.
Pat, read his comic. Read the comic strip.
If you build it, he will come.
Ryan says, sometimes I wonder if this field is our field of dreams. Our what? Remember the man who built the baseball field on his farm, says Shoeless Joe?
All right, the tour is over. I got some swag from the museum, keep it in business, t-shirt I probably didn't need, and some postcards. And there was also a few copies of Field of Dreams. I don't remember if I had it on hard copy. Everything's streaming, but the day streaming takes it down. You either don't own it or you can't rent it. It's good to pop a DVD in. But I highly recommend this tour. It was $7 to get in. Totally worth it. Would have paid $10. The tour guide was super knowledgeable, very friendly. Every room we went to was dedicated to a different era of baseball for Joe, with his time with Cleveland, his time with Chicago, his local stuff he did. Very cool. Highly recommend it. Come check it out. Greenville, South Carolina, right next to the Greenville Drive Stadium. Our final stop brings us to Woodlawn Memorial Park, I believe it's called. And this is the final resting place for Joe and his wife. Well, it's pretty easy to find. There was somebody that put the coordinates into the Find the Grave website, and it took me right to the street. And when you look to the left, you see the baseballs going around it. It's very easy to find. But yeah, I'm gonna pay our respects to a legend in baseball. Joe and his wife Katie buried here. I'll leave a penny. He enjoyed baseball even after they tried to get him kicked out, and he was banned for life. So now, hopefully they can get him into the Hall of Fame, because I think he deserves it. And I don't think he tried to fix the World Series either, but he had a heck of an advantage being in the left field, and he was great on the bat. So, pay our respects to a legend in baseball. Hope y'all have a great day.